Mrs. Reagan, as we mentioned earlier, went to the hospital immediately after the shooting. Secret Service agents have emptied out of this building to go to George Washington Hospital to find out what is happening to their colleague who was hit, as well as the president, whom they protect. All we know at this point is, as you know, the condition of the president is stable, and further announcements on his condition will be made from the hospital a mile from the White House. Frank?
Thank you, Bill. Yes, David Gergen said that his condition was stable, but we have had another report, as I mentioned a moment ago, from a doctor at the hospital who said one lung of the president has partially collapsed, but that he is in good condition. We understand, too, that the wounded Secret Service agent has now been tentatively identified as Timothy J. McCarthy. Tim McCarthy. We don't know the name of the wounded District of Columbia police officer. And Jim Brady's condition, there has been no further word on that. His head was bandaged as he was wheeled into the George Washington University Hospital here this afternoon. As Dave Gergen says, Jim Baker told him that the president actually walked into the hospital. He was not carried in. Now we're going to go back to a slow motion and move it frame by frame so that we can witness this incident once again. Here's the president's already outside. Now it's about to happen. The man in the foreground is Mike Deaver. The president disappears slightly. There, it's happened. Watch the president. Stop it. Can't really tell whether he's reacting to shock or pain or surprise, whatever it is. Keep going. Now here is a later picture of the president at the same, well, this is a still photo, yes, of the president being put into the car. That's the chief of his Secret Service detail there on his left. And reporters at the scene assumed that because they were just treating the president roughly, as naturally they would, that they were merely trying to get him into the car and get him out of there. Well, obviously they were trying to do that, and the information we had earlier that he had not been hit, unfortunately, has turned out to be untrue, but the president's condition is good. Now we're going to go to Sam Donaldson, who was at George Washington University Hospital. Sam? Go ahead, Sam.
Well, Frank, here at George Washington Hospital in Washington, Larry Speaks, who is the Deputy Press Secretary, has just come out and, in effect, recapitulated what Lim Nofziger, a top aide of the president's, said earlier. Speaks says the president was wounded once. He was shot once in the left chest. Speaks says the bullet is still in the president's body. Speaks says the president is conscious and is talking, and his situation is described by doctors here, according to Speaks, as stable. To all questions as to what that means and how seriously the president is hurt, Speaks says he has no further information. Earlier, Lim Nofziger said it was his understanding that the doctors would probably operate on President Reagan, but Nofziger had no details and did not know when. So we don't know what that means. Speaks says any further information will be brought out here to reporters. So to recapitulate, it's been one awful afternoon. President Reagan coming out of the Washington Hilton Hotel just a little bit before 2:30, smiling and waving at reporters, photographers, and a crowd of well-wishers on the sidewalk as he walked toward his black limousine in order to go back to the White House. We had just called to him to ask him about Poland. What's the latest on Poland, Mr. President? And as he turned toward us, shots immediately were fired just to the right of me and to the right of Hank Brown, our cameraman, and to the right of other cameras and reporters on the rope line. 4 shots at least were fired. There may have been 5. We saw 3 people go down on the ground, obviously hit by gunfire. I did not see that the president was hit, because immediately Secret Service agents grabbed him and pushed him toward the car and literally threw him into the back seat of the car, and the car sped away. Frank?
Thank you, Sam. Yes. Now, just to add to that, David Gergen at the White House said that he was told by Jim Baker, who's the chief of staff at the White House, that the president got out of the car at the George Washington Hospital and walked into the hospital. His condition is said to be stable. One doctor has told us it is good. And as Lim Nofziger said earlier, a decision is being made, perhaps it's been made by now, on whether to operate on the president. The bullet had not been removed from Mr. Reagan. It entered apparently on his left side, under his arm, according to Lynn, and did not hit his heart. The president is conscious and is talking, according to Larry Speaks, who's a deputy press secretary. So all that is, of course, a very good sign. Vice President Bush is on his way back to Washington. He took off from Texas a short while ago, and it won't take him very long to get back here. There are several people at the White House. It is, of course, a crisis situation, and until more is known about whether it could be part of a conspiracy or anything, naturally, why the crisis management team is there at the White House. Ironically, Vice President Bush, just selected to head that, happened to be out of the city at the time. The Secretary of State is there, the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Treasury, and many other officials. The Senate immediately went into recess as soon as it was learned that the president had been shot. They went into recess because I believe they said unconfirmed reports. They didn't know any more than anybody else up there at that time. But we're going to get some reaction from up on Capitol Hill right now. We'll go to our correspondent, Britt Hume. Britt?
Yes, Frank, it was about 2:45 this afternoon. I guess that's about 15 minutes after the shots were fired, and it was a fairly crowded Senate chamber. There had just been a vote. A number of senators were present there, and Senator Baker walked into that rather crowded scene and announced that the president had been shot at. He did not know, as indeed most of us did not know at that time, that the president had in fact been hit. And the news stunned most of the members, obviously, and many of them filed out of the chamber into their respective cloakrooms where there are hotlines to the White House, where they could keep abreast of the information about who was hit and how badly. And I suspect that many of them tuned in television sets as well, as I guess most of the nation has by now. Senator Kennedy did rise on the floor to mention the murders of his brothers, that of Medgar Evers. All of us, he said, who care about this country bear an important responsibility to rid the society and country of the kind of violence and hatred that we have seen. Well, it was a short time after that, about 3:15, that Senator Baker came in and he announced that the Senate would stand in recess until his further call. And now, of course, everyone here is waiting word of the president's condition. The question is, of course, will there be surgery? And I suspect that the senators will stand by and wait to hear what the outcome of that is when it comes. Frank?
Thank you, Brett. Of course, it's not correct, I suppose, to say that the government comes to a standstill, but certainly in terms of any legislation or any committee hearings or anything like that on Capitol Hill, nothing like that is taking place now because, as Britt pointed out, everybody is waiting for word from George Washington University Hospital on the condition of the president and the others who were hit, particularly Jim Brady, the White House press secretary. He has been identified. We know that he was hit. We don't know the condition of Mr. Brady at the moment, and we know that the other Secret Service agent was Tim McCarthy. We do not know his condition, and we have not yet learned, so far as I can tell, the identity of the District of Columbia policeman. However, who was also injured at the time. The Secret Service has now confirmed, according to our information, that the man in custody and suspected of the shooting is named John W. Hinckley, Jr., Hinkley, I believe. He is said to be 22 years old. He is in custody at the 2nd District Police Headquarters here in Washington, undoubtedly undergoing interrogation at this time. He is from Evergreen, Colorado. Now, that's about all. We have a picture of him? Let's see him. Well, that's the picture that is from our own videotape. There he is. He appears to have blonde hair. John Warnock Hinckley, 22 years old. John Warnock Hinckley. People in Evergreen, Colorado might know him. His name is unknown, at least until 2:30 this afternoon. What is it we're going to do again, gentlemen? We're going to show the... oh, all right. We have 3 still photos of the president. This is after the incident. He's not yet been put into the car. Here's the second one. He's got his arm up. Now, the bullet, we understand, entered his left side under the arm, according to Lynn Nofziger. And here's the other one as he's being actually pushed into the car. So that's all we know at the moment. Last word, he's in stable condition, good condition, according to one doctor at the George Washington University Hospital, where all of those wounded today in this incident that took place at approximately 2:30 Washington time. All of those injured, the 4 people, have been taken to George Washington University Hospital. The president walked into the hospital, which is a good indication that His wound was not serious, but we can't attempt to characterize it at this point. We are told that he is conscious and is talking, that Mrs. Reagan is there. She is upset, but nevertheless